Hello, everyone. It's Stamp Ventures with Shauna. Hopping on here on, let's see, it's Monday, July 19th. I know it's not my usual time to be doing a video, but I've recently been working on these two Christmas cards, and I thought I'd show you some of the things that I was doing to make these cards and to achieve some of the looks that I was going for with them. So there we go. They're now synced up with the iPad. So if there are any questions that come through as I'm working on these cards, or if you just want to say hello, let me know how your day is going, give a wave, give a shout. I'm calling this Christmas in July. I will be actually doing a stamp camp with some stampers and some of my team members on August 7th, and today is the last day to register for it. There are so many fun cards that you can make with the Tidings and Trimmings stamp set. That's the stamp set that we'll be using for our stamp camp in August. And so I thought I'm just going to hop on and make this quick video here to show all the stampers another card idea for this stamp set. There are a ton of them out there, and I know we're going to enjoy using this set for our day on August 7th, and there will be completely different cards than this one, but I really liked this. I got the idea from a stamping demonstrator friend of mine, and I've been wanting to try something like this for a while. So I'll show you how I made this card and share a few tips with you on that one. And then this card followed my challenge from Mystery Card last week, and I wanted to share a little tip about what I did with my embossing folder. So I'll share this one secondly, and I'll get started and show you how I put together this card here. I loved how it makes it look like there's a wreath, and I thought since lots of people have been doing Christmas in July and stamp camps and things with the Tidings and Trimmings stamp set, thought you might like this idea. So, hello, Pam. Glad to see you out there. Hope things are going well in North Carolina. Hello to Sue and all the others of you who have joined on. Welcome, welcome. I'm here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and we have had really, really hot weather these past few days. And then now today it's overcast, and we're enjoying just a little bit. It's a little bit cooler. I think it's going to warm up as the day goes by here a bit more this afternoon, but it was refreshing earlier today. Only thing is we're getting smoke now from the forest fires that are up north, and that's unfortunate. But getting a little bit of a reprieve because we'd had a lot of warm days. Okay, so to show you how I did this card here. A few years ago, I received this beauty of a card from my friend Marcy Denning, and I just absolutely adored it. And there was a fall set of stamps that had leaves and, strands of wheat and that kind of thing on it. And I've been really wanting to try something like that. And when I saw all like the foliage in the Tidings and Trimmings stamp set, I'm like, oh, I can do this idea. So that's where the initial idea came from. Thank you so much to Marcy for sharing that card with me. Oh, Pam, you had cooler temperatures too, but the humidity is so high. I bet. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. It just can get pretty unbearable there with the humidity. Thanks, Sue. I'm so glad you like the cards. Hey, Emmy girl. Okay, so to get started, I have a card base. I just used our thick basic white cardstock, and so it's the 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I've got a piece of cherry cobbler here, and it's 5 1/4 Okay, 5¼ that way. Yep, by 4 inches that way. And then I pulled out a piece of a regular basic white cardstock, and it's just under 5¼ by 4, so like an 1/8 of an inch smaller. So if you like to measure by 8ths, that would be 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, I think. So I'm going to be stamping on this, and the first thing I'm going to do is pull in my foam mat, because these stamps are the photopolymer ones, and they don't have that layer of foam in behind them like the rubber ones do. So this foam here helps to give a good impression. The other thing I've got is an extra circle that I've cut out, and it's the size of this circle that I'm going to be stamping the greeting on. And I'm going to be using this as a template underneath for where I want to stamp. So I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to grab a pencil and trace around it. In case you're wondering what size of circle this is, these circles are all from the layering circles dies that are in the annual catalog. This one is basically, the diameter is 1 7/8. So if you're wanting to make this card, that's the circle that you'll start with. And I cut it out twice. I cut it out once to draw a circle with, and then once to stamp on. Actually, I cut a couple of these circles in case I make a goof up with my stamping. All right, so I'm going to mark this circle just very lightly, and it's going to get covered up eventually. But there we go. That's where my wreath is going to be centered. Now, I've got some inks here, and I'm going to try and line them up so I don't get too mixed up. The berries are going to be stamped with cherry cobbler. And then, let's see, the two-leaf guy, I think the two-leaf guy, yeah, I'm going to be using Sahara sand for the 2 leaves. And then the 3-leaf one is going to be Evening Evergreen, one of our new in colors for this year. And, okay, let's see. I feel like I'm going off the edge of the screen here. We'll turn these up and make a little bit more room. I'm trying to keep my lineup so I don't get confused as to what ink pad I am stamping in. And I'll start with the cherry. It's a nice bright color. I'm not going to go straight up and down with this. I'm going to start off to the side a little bit. So you can see my stem is just inside the circle a little bit, but most of the rest of the branches and berries are protruding outside of the circle. So go cherry and Sahara and evergreen, something like that. And then we're going to start again. Repeat, rinse and repeat. And you can kind of, you can turn things a little bit in different directions so it doesn't look exactly the same from, at every stamped angle. It gives a little bit of interest to the wreath that you're creating. Let's see. Could even, nothing saying that you can't do a little bit of overlapping. Okay, and we're back again with the cherry. Let's see, maybe I'll go a little bit more this way this time. Cherry, Sahara, and evergreen. The last time around, here we go. Cherry, Sahara, and evergreen. Okay, and I really dipped into it there. Now I'm just realizing that I've got a little bit of extra room going on there, so I might go back. I don't know if I want to put another cherry one in there or not, so maybe I'll do another Sahara and a little bit more evergreen. Tuck those evergreen leaves down lower. Maybe I'll regret that I did that one low. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Now I'm going to move these stamps all off to the side because I think I'm done with those. Of course, you always second guess. I'm going to go in and put a little bit more of the greenery up a little bit higher there because I think it's going to be too low. All right, and now I'm going to swap out the evergreen for soft succulent. So I'm going to use the soft succulent as a fill-in color. The fill-in color with the 3 leaves. And for the fill-in color for the 2 leaves that I used the Sahara Sand for the outline, I'm just going to use Sahara Sand stamped off. But I'm going to start, I'll do the fill-in for the evening evergreen here first. So what I was really pleased with when I was stamping the fill-in leaves is that once you've stamped that outline, it's really quite easy to line up the fill-ins. I was like, oh, this is going to be hard and I don't know if I'm going to be able to line them up very well. And I found I could see through the stamps really well and they lined up very nicely. So even though, like I sometimes don't like to do lots of like little fussy things, this wasn't all that fussy. It was a lot quicker than doing coloring with markers or pencil crayons or whatever. It's just the fast way to color. Oh, I'm glad you like the idea, Emmy. It's fun to try this card idea. I know it seems kind of strange doing Christmas cards when it's all so warm and summery out. Well, except today is a little bit different, but this is kind of getting me warmed up for my Christmas stamp camp next month. For those of you who might be wondering, there are about four spots left in the stamp camp. So we only have are ordering in a certain amount of the swag product that's going to be included as part of the package. So if you're in Canada and interested in getting a package for our stamp camp, be in touch with me or one of my team members, Tammy, Jessie, or Sue, as soon as possible. And we can hopefully get you in. All right, so then what I noticed when from this card that I received from Marcy, she had taken this Subtles embossing folder and ran the whole thing through and created a really nice subtle background texture. Now, the Subtles embossing folder is not in our annual catalog anymore, so I decided to go with my next choice, which is the Tasteful Textiles. And I was worried that maybe this would be too busy, but I don't think it is. So in a minute, I'm just going to run that through. But before I do, I have one last thing to stamp, and I maybe should do that, and then I can close up my inks, and I won't get ink all over my Big Boss. So here's that circle, same size as the one I traced, so about 1 7/8. And I'm using these words: may your days be merry and bright. Make sure I got that inked up properly. And I pulled back in for my, I can give a nice push into that foam mat under there and get a good crisp image. Okay, so I'll move these inky things out of the road. Got the inky stuff out of the way. All right, and we'll close these up. If you're wondering how I decided the colors for this card, I went with the colors that they have in the coordinating designer paper that that's shown in the suite with the Tidings and Trimmings set. I quite like the color combination with the Sahara and the greens and the cherry cobbler. Really nice colors. And that paper is on sale right now. It's 15% off for our designer paper sale. So if you like that color combination, you might want to keep that paper in mind. Also, the people who register for our stamp camp, not only do they receive the Tidings and Trimmings stamp set, but they get a half package of the Tidings of Christmas designer paper as well. Okay, so we're pulling out the Big Boss. I have to use the Big Boss because it needs to be that size for this regular size embossing folder. And I'm going to run this whole layer of the card into the folder here. So this is the Tasteful Textiles, I think. I always have to think about what plate to use with my embossing folders. This is a 3D one. That means it's extra thick. It's not bendy at all. It's got a lot of thickness to it. The 3D embossing folders are newer to us here in Stampin' Up. So that always reminds me to use the gray plate. If it's a thinner, not 3D embossing folder, then it just uses the regular clear plates. And it's the thinner ones are the older styles. I think older style embossing folder, older style plates, newer, thicker style embossing folder, newer gray plate. That's how my brain has to work to get my mind around that. Okay, so as you can see now, even though it's a little bit more textured than the subtles, I think it still looks really nice for the card. Would even be nicer if I didn't quite mess up on my stamping there, but okay, so we're going to layer some things together, and then I can get on and tell you a few tips about my second card for Christmas in July. The second card I'm not going to put entirely all together. I'm just going to tell you a few little tips about it and show you a little bit of how that bedazzling paper, that's a celebration item for August, how it works, and how I'll let you know how I make out with cutting it with my paper trimmer, because people like to know those kinds of things when you have those thicker papers. So there we go. And now I'm going to create the center of the wreath. And I don't know if you noticed this, but from Marcy's card, she used this stitched circle. It was from the Stitched Shapes dies. I absolutely adored all the stitched shapes. All of us demonstrators did, and we were very sad when they were taken out of the catalog this past spring with the start of the new annual catalog. And yeah, for those of you who are newer and were hoping to get the stitched shapes, probably the only place you'll find them are like on eBay and that kind of thing. And so my goal was, how can I create a little bit of a textured look so that even if you don't have the stitched shapes, you still got a little bit of an extra texture there. So this is what I came up with. I used the next size up circle in gold, and well, originally I went like that, and I'm like, okay, that's not bad, just got that gold hoop or gold ring. It's just basically like a wreath, but it's missing that extra texture of the stitches. So then I decided that I'd cut the scalloped circle, which is also part of the layering circles, and I would layer the stamp circle with that very tiny edge of scallops, and then layer that onto the plain gold bigger circle. Add some dimensionals, and voila, there we go. You kind of, it's definitely not stitched, but adding that extra little layer of gold scallops in there, it's almost like it's embossed with scallops. It just could be that extra little bump out of texture there. And then I went and grabbed my evening evergreen, what do they call this? Open weave ribbon. I love all these open weave ribbons that are with our new in colors, and created a bow that I glue dotted onto there, and voila, card number 1 is done. And a really fun way to show off the little bits of greenery from the tidings and trimmings. And if you're not a fan of tying a bow, the other option that you would have is you could stamp this bow, and then if you have the coordinating dies that go with the stamp set, those dies would cut that bow out for you, and you can just add that on right there. So you have a few options that way. And I didn't do any decorating on the inside, but could definitely do more branches with the berries, or perhaps a star. And always, of course, like a greeting for the inside, wishing you a joyful Christmas and Happy New Year. So, okay, card number 1, that's it for the first one for Christmas in July. And now I'm going to tell you just a few tips and tricks about card number 2. Now, where did she go? I know I have that beautiful angel somewhere. There we go. So this features the angel and the peace on earth from Angels of Peace. And this is going to be in the upcoming mini catalog, July through December. I know it says July, but it actually doesn't start until August 3rd. And so yeah, that stamp set is found right in here. And this special Dazzling, I think it's called Bee Dazzling paper, is one of the items that you can earn as a celebration product between August 3rd and September 30th with a minimum order before shipping and tax of $60. Now, it shows all the way to September 30th. Oh, I'm thinking that this paper could sell out fairly soon because it's so pretty. Lots of people like sparklies, and if you're, if there's a few things in here that you like, and this paper is one of them, you might want to get the paper first. Stampin' Up! Makes their own stamps, so the stamps will always be available right till the end of celebration. Some of the other papers, the penguins are going to they're going to be really hot too. So, but yeah, if you have your heart set on that one, you might want to add that Bee Dazzling paper to your first celebration order. August 3rd is when it begins. Okay, so I was going to show you just how our paper trimmer cuts the Bee Dazzling paper, because it is thick and kind of nubby, and so I'm going to pull that out. And just as a reminder to me, I think this is 1 3/4. No, it's 1.5 inches. So here's what the paper looks like. It's 6 by 6. And let's see here, 1.5. Emmy, you have found out that you've introduced yourself to Pam. It's kind of neat that we have a friend from another country on our videos here, isn't it? That's kind of cool. Okay, so there's my first go through, and it mostly cut, but it's like, yeah, I could probably just go back again and do one more slide back the other way, because it is just that much thicker than our normal. Okay, am I hitting the same spot there? Yeah. If you do once or twice, or 2 or 3 times like that, that's a better better way to go about it. So, do I have scissors nearby? Sure I do. Yeah, there's a little bit of this backing paper that can be trimmed off. But yeah, it slides through pretty well. Now, what some people find is this paper that is really, really textured, it dulls their blades quicker. Any of the glittery paper dulls the blades. So what some people do is they mark, they get 2 blades. One blade would be marked CS for cardstock, which would be regular cardstock. And then they might get a second blade that they might mark with the letter G, just, you know, using a black Sharpie marker. And the G would stand for glitter paper, so that your glitter paper, it'll wear down that other blade more quickly, but this blade will still stay a little bit sharper for a little bit longer with your regular cardstock. So some people find that that's a handy way to go about that. I think this was 5 1/4. So again, just do a couple back and forths, and yeah, it goes through really well. And just so you can see, I did punch it with our triple banner punch. And since I had the 1 1/2, I'm going to go through the middle slot there. Just guide that in. Yeah, and that punched really well. Just got a little bit of extra there. So yeah, that is how I got the banner for this card. And then a couple things I was going to mention about the tag. So the tag is 2 inches wide. And I would have used, I think this is the Ornate tag topper. It's the something tag topper. And I would have had to use the very widest slots for that, for the 2 inches. And I would have punched it first, because the punching takes off a little extra cardstock. And then after I punched it, I would have used my Versamark ink, inked up the angel, stamped her. As you can see, part of her robe is going to be off the bottom, so you'd want to have just a scrap paper underneath. That Versamark is sticky, and once you've inked with that clear sticky ink, you'll be able to take the embossing, the gold embossing powder, sprinkle it over, tap it off, and heat it with the heat tool to melt it so that it gets the nice shiny gold look. And it heats it, it sets it. So it's not, the powder's not going to move around. You want to make sure all your powder is melted. Okay, so I don't know if this is going to show up for you at all, but I did take, for the angel's hair and the dove, I did take my Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I just colored in with the Wink of Stella in her hair and the dove, so it made it just a slight shade darker, and it also made them glittery. So not a whole lot of coloring, just that little bit there. You might want to do maybe the angel's wings. That would be more coloring with the glitter pen, but yeah, you can decide what you'd like to highlight with the Wink of Stella. Peace on Earth. That is a stamp set that has a couple more words underneath it. And let's see, where did I set? Oh, there it is. The stamp set's down at my feet here. I used Peace on Earth, Goodwill Toward Men. This whole saying wasn't going to fit in the little oval. This is like our little oval duo punch. So what I did for that is a little bit of masking, and probably lots of you are familiar with this, but I'll show you quickly in case you need a refresher. So there it is. I want just Peace on Earth. So I would have taken Scotch tape, and I would have just covered up the Goodwill Towards Men. So then I inked Peace on Earth. It's all nice and sticky. but so is the tape. The tape is also sticky from the ink. So here's the crucial part. Remember to take the tape off, and it will probably happen a couple times that you'll actually stamp with the tape and you'll realize, oh, I didn't mean to do that, and then you'll have to stamp it again. But there we go. The Goodwill Towards Men is now dry, and it's just the piece on earth that's sticky. I could take a little bit of powder and go across here if I want to. Stamp that. Now, because it's clear and Versamark, you're probably not going to be able to see a thing, but I'll quickly grab my embossing powder, my gold embossing powder, so you can see that, yeah, it's just those words that stamped in, not any other parts of that particular saying or set of words. There, so there you go, peace on earth. And I would definitely heat it and set it completely. And then I'd go in with the oval punch, turn it upside down, center it, and pop it out. I should mention that the paper that I used here and this layer of white in the background, I decided to use the shimmer white because I thought, oh, it's all shimmery and pretty. We're going to use all the pretty stuff on this card. So yeah, shimmer white for that. And then I have one last thing that I learned doing this card. And I think I've done this before, but maybe just with ink. I've never done it like regular classic ink. I don't think I've ever done it with Versamark. I decided when I was making this card that I didn't want the background pink and this pink here to be all exactly the same. I wanted the background pink to have a little bit of depth and deeper tones to it so that the lightness was, it was like the angel was the lighter part of the card, you know, the shining light and pink. So I took my, I think, is it Merry Melody embossing folder? This is the one that has the musical notes that's in the July through December mini catalog. And I told some of you before, this was when I was doing my unboxing, that it is the melody to Joy to the World. And okay, so how do I know which is the front? The front has the Stampin' Up! Logo on it. That's the front of the embossing folder. And all of those little notes are indented into the front. So what I did is I took my Versamark ink pad and I just pulled it along the front. So on the flat parts, all that Versamark ink is just going onto the flat parts, but it's not going into the musical note indentations. At least I don't think it is. Okay, there we go. And now I've got a piece of Blushing Bride cardstock here. So this is just under 5 1/4 by 4, so like 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I'm gonna lay this down, and I want to lay it down so that my notes are kind of sort of going straight. And we're going to pull in the Big Boss again. That's the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. And again, this is a 3D folder, so it's really thick, and it calls for the gray plate and no bottom plate with these 3D ones because they're so thick. It's these 3D folders. I'll run this through. And, ooh, I think I went a little bit off to the side. So when I got to the end, I had to turn hard to crank it. It was rubbing against the edge a little. Now, I'll be able to take my embossing folder and I'll scrub it with soap to get off that excess Versamark ink. But what I want to show you is if you can, you can maybe, it probably looks a little bit shiny from the Versamark ink, but it's also, Versamark ink is what's called a watermark ink. So it just creates a deeper tone on tone. It says right there, watermark stamp pad. So not only is it sticky for the embossing powder, but it just creates a deeper tone. And so here's one that's got the flat parts that are Versamarked, and then all those notes that are popped up, they don't have Versamark on it, so it makes the popped up notes look brighter and lighter, makes them really pop. And here's one that doesn't have the background Versamarked. You can see that it's a lot lighter pink color, and doesn't have the contrast between the background and the notes. This one gets more contrast with the Versamark. And so that's what I did for here. And I'm like, oh, I need to do this technique more, because it just makes the notes and all the raised portions of the embossed paper just pop that much more. So that was fun to do. And yeah, just add something a little new, and add a little special extra touch that I might not have thought of before. And then this lace trim going down the side here, that's, I think it's like vanilla lace scallop or something trim, and that's from our annual catalog. So that's it for Christmas in July. 2 Christmas cards to inspire you, and maybe start thinking about your own Christmas cards, getting started with them sooner, as opposed to like the first week in December, which is often what I'm doing. It's so silly, but that's, yeah, goofy. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope they inspire you to get using your stamps that you've got on hand. And you might not have this angel, or you might not have this exact foliage, these exact foliage images, but you might be able to still come up with your own version of these cards and use some of the stamps and paper that you have on hand. And if there's anything that you've seen here that you're like, oh, I'd really like to order that. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you're here in Canada, I'd love to help you out and connect you to get some of these products. And as I mentioned, until 8 o'clock tonight, I am, while openings are available, I am able to take a couple more registrations for the Holiday Head Start Stamp Camp that's going to be on Facebook on August 7th on a private group, and you can contact me for more information about that. So thanks everyone for joining me at this last minute video. I hope to be back on tomorrow night, which is Tuesday, at around 9 p.m. Saskatchewan/Mountain Time, and I'll have a new video for you then. Take care and have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.